I'm looking for a I can help her. What's going on?
Uniform one night.
Yeah, I can help her. What's going on? Yeah. No, I know what happened. I know the people they involved. So.
Go again.
But I just know that some guy come here.
Yeah.
And he up some guy. I don't know what happened.
Right.
I don't know what happened. He just got.
Marek Hecko, a 23-year-old who lived in Chelmsford, UK, just outside of London. He was a Slovakian citizen who moved to the United Kingdom in 2019. After moving to the UK, he was eager to start a new path for himself with many opportunities, which he was willing to put in the work for. He was working as a waiter and a chef in 2 different restaurants, putting in the hours in order to enhance his chance of seizing further opportunities. 2021, 2 years after moving, Marek was pretty settled in the UK. After securing a stable job and building a new life for himself, things were looking up. October 2021. Marek began a relationship with Stephanie Bream, a bar lady at a local establishment, who also lived in Chelmsford. Right from the beginning, Marek was smitten by Stephanie and always wanted to spend time with her. At first things seemed to be going well, but it wasn't long before cracks started to show. As time went on in their relationship, Stephanie became suspicious with Marek's behavior, with his dishonesty becoming more regular. At first she thought he was on drugs and Marek had always denied this. However, Stephanie could sense something was off and knew the telltale signs too well. It was obvious to tell when Marek was high. May 2022. 6 months into their relationship, Stephanie had finally hit breaking point and had enough. She ended the relationship and said there was basically no trust left between us. Marek struggled to move on and would bombard her with long emotional text messages begging her to take him back. He begged for another chance and the messages were constant and borderline obsessive. Not only the messages, but he would turn up to her workplace and home uninvited, wanting to speak to her to hear him out. He went on to great lengths and even lied about being diagnosed with colon cancer. This was his attempt in gaining sympathy and winning her back. None of his efforts were successful. As the trust had been broken down, she didn't believe anything he said. The constant messages, pleas, and his presence was unwelcomed. However, none of this deterred Marek as he continued to stalk her on Facebook, interacting with every one of her posts. The obsessive behavior of his continued and he would stalk her profile to gather information and work out if she was seeing someone new. He would go further and look into the interactions she had with other users. Convinced she was seeing someone new and this was the reason she didn't want to be with him. He wasn't far from the truth, however, it wasn't the reason she didn't want to see him anymore. Shortly after the pair broke up, Stephanie started dating a man named Adrian Ellingford, a 44-year-old who resided in Chelmsford. He was described as a hard-working man who would always help friends and neighbors. Adrian was a father of 2 boys aged 10 and 12 and would often volunteer at the local Boys Scout group. Although from the outside it seemed like Adrian was an overall good man, he had his weaknesses. One being, at the time he was seeing Stephanie, he actually had a wife at home and they had been married for 17 years. Stephanie knew about this and they continued the affair. One afternoon, Stephanie had planned for Adrian to come over, however, Marek turned up and he told her he was there to collect some things he left behind. Stephanie tried giving him his stuff quickly and to get him to leave, however, Marek waited on the porch outside for around 40 minutes, begging Stephanie for another chance. Unsurprisingly, during this time, Adrian pulled up in his car. He passed Marek on the way into the house and although he didn't acknowledge him or anything, he caught Marek's attention. Marek wanted to know who this man was, but Stephanie ignored any of his questions. As Stephanie was living at home with her mother, Marek didn't push too much as it could have been a friend of her mother and instead he continued to beg for another chance. Eventually, he gave up and left. July 24, 2022. 2 months after the breakup, Adrian, Stephanie and her mother went out. It is believed they went to a local pub before returning to Stephanie's home and continued the socialize in the garden. Around 1 a.m. they decided to call it a night and Stephanie and Adrian retreated to her bedroom on the first floor, whilst her mother went to her room on the ground floor. According to phone records, it portrayed Stephanie using her phone at 2:43 a.m., meaning she most likely went to sleep just before 3 a.m. Around 1.5 hours later, Stephanie was suddenly awakened. Adrian was getting out of bed and telling her he thinks someone had just been in the room. Still slightly disorientated and sleepy, she asked what he meant, and as he made it to the foot of the bed he collapsed. Stephanie was shocked and quickly looked at what was going on. She saw blood. Immediately calling for her mum for help. As her mum was making her way up, Stephanie was already on the phone to 999, trying to explain the confusing situation. During the disturbing 11-minute call, Stephanie's mind raced trying to piece together what had just happened. Slowly the grim truth unraveled. Adrian had been viciously stabbed, twice, and the second blow being with such force the blade snapped and became stuck in his wounded back. A short while later, emergency services arrived. Sadly, Adrian Ellingford was declared dead at the scene. Investigations began immediately. Police cordoned off the scene and tried to collect as much evidence and information as possible. From the notes, there was no forced entry. However, Stephanie would keep the sliding door open at the front in the summer due to the heat. This indicated the intruder must have entered from here and left through the front door. At the bottom of the house they found the knife handle, and nearby outside they found an empty wine bottle. As the daylight began to arise they received an unexpected breakthrough. Around 7:30 a.m., they were approached by a man who was out of it and a bottle of brandy in his hand.
Who are you looking for?
I'm looking for a I can help her. What's going on?
Uniform one night?
Yeah, I can help her. What's going on? No, I know what happened. I know the people there involved. So.
Go again.
But we need to dig deep, you know?
Thank you. What's your name?
I'm not gonna tell you my name. I don't give a because I know what happened. And you need me to know, figure it out what happened. If you don't have me, you don't know what. I just know that some guy come here.
Yeah.
And then he up some guy. I don't know what happened.
Right.
I don't know what happened. He just got. You're gonna think about me, but it's not gonna be me because there's no proof.
So you think something's happened to a male in this address?
No, I know what happened.
What
I know
happened then?
everything.
Tell me
I know
what
everything.
happened.
This city is mine. I'm not gonna
This
tell you
city's
that.
yours, is it?
Yeah, this city is mine.
Shortly after this incident, Marek was arrested at around 7:40 a.m. on July 25, 2022. Initially, he was arrested for being drunk and disorderly, but by later on in the afternoon, police had him arrested on suspicion of murder. He was immediately their prime suspect.
Can you get in the van, please? You've been arrested, okay? We're trying
I've been arrested,
we're
yeah,
trying,
so send me the
we're
law.
trying not.
Okay,
we're trying
send me.
not to manhandle you, but we need you to get in the van.
February 2023. Marek Hecko was on trial for the murder of Adrian Ellingford. During the 3-week trial, the prosecution put forward their case of how he was obsessed with Stephanie and couldn't move on from their breakup. He stalked her and refused to move on, and after realizing she was in another relationship, he couldn't accept it. July 25, 2022. CCTV cameras captured Marek buying 2 bottles of wine from a garage in Rainsford Road, Chelmsford. 3:47 a.m. he was walking in the direction of Nelson Grove, where Stephanie was staying. Shortly before 5 a.m., he was captured again walking in the opposite direction of her home, and this time it was noticed he was only carrying 1 bottle of wine. His DNA was later found on the wine bottle outside the house. The court heard after he had finished the bottle outside the house, he broke in through the sliding door, where he then saw Adrian in bed with Stephanie. Even though his DNA was found on the handle and the bottle, he denied any involvement and stated his DNA was only found as he had been to the property many times before and it was probably cross-contaminated. He went on to say the reason he returned to the scene offering help was because he heard about the incident on the news that morning and wanted to get to Stephanie. However, prosecutors were quick to mention by the time he was at the scene no information had been released. March 14, 2023. Less than a day of deliberations, the jury found Marek Hecko guilty of the murder of Adrian Ellingford and he was sentenced to life in prison. A minimum term of 26 years before he would be eligible for parole.